So if you're here for boosting your online presence, you're in the right spot. I do have a question for you though. How many of you are still drunk? Okay, so 2 or 3 of you are doing it right. I'm guessing you came straight from the bars, a show, some sort of event, into a music networking event. And if you're not still drunk, you're doing something wrong. So do it right next time. Anyway, my name's Stefan. I host a music meetup called Balanced Breakfast. It's for anybody who's passionate about music and wants to meet other people. We meet every single week at 8 a.m. But it's 8 a.m. on a Thursday because we figure you're probably going to bed at a reasonable time on a Wednesday, maybe. But from my right, if I'm pointing this way, we've got Decap, Casey, Bob, and John. And each of them are going to tell you a little bit about like what they're doing to boost their online presence or someone else's online presence. We'll start here with Decap. I'm hoping by the end of this panel, we'll know what his real name is because I searched all over the web to find it, and it's really well hidden. So if he has a birth name, I don't know what it is yet. So we'll see.
Who says that's not his birth name?
Yeah, that's what I'm going to find out.
My name is Decap. Yeah. Why I think I'm on the panel? I don't know. But I'm happy to be here.
All right. Well, I'm gonna grill him for like whatever we got, 45 minutes to find out, and at the end you can see if you agree that he was put on this panel for the right reason. Casey, you're up.
Hi, I'm Casey Shafer. I currently manage a Bay Area band called Cambrio. And before that, I was a tour manager for Lil Wayne, MXPX, Stone Temple Pilots, etc., etc. And then prior to that, I ran a record label. So I've seen the evolution of no online, didn't exist, brick and mortar stores, to that you have to have an online presence or you're dead. So.
My name's Bob Duskis. I'm the co-founder of a locally based label called 6 Degrees Records. We've been around for 20 years this year. October was our 20th anniversary. And yeah, similar to Casey, we've seen it all. And online, social media, coordinating stuff for the label and branding the label identity, as well as working with our pretty sizable roster of artists from around the world. Online and social media is a huge part of what we do now, so I think that's why I'm on this panel.
Hi there, my name is Jon Duman. I'm here as part of my court order community service for many different misdemeanors that we won't go into detail regarding. I'm actually an entertainment attorney, active here in the Bay Area for, we'll just say 20 years around that, and we won't say anything more. I'm in an interesting position as an entertainment attorney because I get to be on this in the observation booth and a lot of different cradle to grave ventures for album projects, film documentaries, and the like. And so I get the benefit of learning from other people's mistakes, while I actually happen to endure them myself.
Again, out there, how many people have a presence online? Okay, perfect. How many people have nothing online? If I search for you, like, okay, 3 people. Cool. I think by the end of this panel, we're going to get you online. I think that's the plan. So as someone who's like trying to figure out online presence, I've done the thing where you go, okay, I need to be on Facebook, I need to be on Instagram, I need to be on Twitter, I need to be on Snapchat, I need to be on like all these platforms, and then I go, shoot, I forgot to update Instagram, I forgot to update Facebook, I forgot to update Twitter, and it's like you have one online presence that does okay. So that's my question to you guys. Is like, where are you going to first? In your online presence, either for yourself or for your artist, where are you going to first? You can start.
So, I mean, I think nowadays it's really important to be on all of them. Depending on who you're trying to reach, if you're not on one of them, you might miss a whole demographic of people. So, you know, every time I do something, I try to update all of them. Snapchat, Twitter, Instagram.
What's interesting though is, even the last 3 years, you know, agents, booking agents, promoters, record labels, they used to look, if you were talking about a band, the first thing that they would do would go and look and see how many Facebook followers you had or how many Twitter followers you had, and that was sort of a indication of, okay, well this you know,
something's going on.
Yeah, and now it's almost irrelevant. Like I don't particularly care so much about how well I do, but how many numbers I have, how many Facebook likes I have, it's the engagement. So when you post something, I don't care if you have 100,000 Facebook likes, but no one's engaging with it. Well, it's useless.
Does that mean all those bots that are playing handshakes or hand claps on my Instagram is good then?
Well, they might be legit. They might all be legit likes, but what that means is the stuff that you're posting, no one gives a shit about. So no one's like going to look at your page. No one's engaging and interacting with with anything. So it's not how many you have. It's like that's my indicator if we're doing something right. Is like, okay, well, we have 20,000 Facebook likes. And we posted something and we got 700 comments or likes or shares or whatever. That's what's important.
I produce hip hop. I've done stuff with Snoop, Talib, and I decided to make a drum kit. My series is called Drums That Knock, and you can sponsor posts. Oh, there we go with the mood lights.
You look way better now.
Yeah.
Before I was like, I don't know about this panel.
So with a sponsored post, you can reach. If you have a ton of followers, you can reach everyone potentially if you pay for your posts.
What do you want out of social media? What do you want when you're increasing your online presence? Ultimately, what you want is you want to make a connection with your desired audience. If you're an artist, if you're a label, that is the all-important thing. Case is absolutely right. If you've got a bunch of people liking you and absolutely no interaction, no back and forth with your desired base that you're reaching out to, then you are not being successful. If you have fewer people, but first of all, it's the target audience that you're looking for, which is very important because Facebook will do all kinds of crazy stuff when you pay to boost posts. All of a sudden, people from Taiwan that you have no interest in reaching, your record isn't even available in that market, are liking your posts. That does nothing for you. I would suggest figure out who you want to reach, and then figure out what is unique about you as an artist, you as a label, and come up with a vocabulary, be it a visual vocabulary, a tone, a way of reaching people so that you actually interact and connect with your audience. If that's not happening, nothing's happening. And there's companies out there that you'll pay them some money and they'll increase your Twitter likes, they'll increase your Facebook likes. It's a bunch of crap. If you're not connecting with the audience you need to reach, you are not successful.
And if you're only after the numbers, you're missing the point.
Totally.
If the only time to pay for a post is if you know exactly who you're trying to reach and you have a plan to reach them, then I would suggest sponsoring because then you can reach them directly. But if you're just paying for likes and numbers, it's really a losing game because you're just after an image and you're not engaging.
So,
it's a scam.
So your advice is to buy a cat and post pictures of your cat.
Yeah.
Anybody out there have a cat?
All day.
Anybody
And
borrow
pictures of your
it?
lunch.
One thing I want to add to all that is that you see this overwhelming percentage of people who are engaging in some sort of online activity, but you can see a night and day difference between those who are doing so with purpose and strategy and those who are just doing it as ordinary people might do to Facebook. If it's a self-indulgent act, what you're posting on there, then likely it'll appeal to you more than to anybody else. Marketing promotion is basically what boosting your online presence is about in this context. And you're marketing, promoting something, the artist, the content. And what you guys are saying is exactly what I keep underlining over and over again. You've got to overcome that barrier between this imaginary cyber existence experience and getting people in the real world to do something that to the benefit of whoever's doing the strategy.
And copy is so important. I mean, I'm sure that you guys can tell if you're looking at a band's post or their tweets or whatever, if the language actually came from someone in the band or some asshole intern was actually posting it. I mean, I think it's pretty transparent, when it comes from the artists themselves and when it comes from, someone like me. So what I have to do, and it's pulling teeth, is, I have the information, I have what I want this post to say. I'll shoot it over to one of my band members and say, hey, make this sound like you. And it's shocking. I mean, we tested this. It's shocking the level of engagement that a genuine, real post gets versus something that I would. and I don't necessarily, and I'll try to fake it too, but it just comes across as, I don't know, it's just not the same. So it's definitely important to have a consistent voice when you're posting stuff.
Yeah, voice and a tone. Like, what are you trying to communicate, and how do you want your audience to think about you? I mean, when I do all the social media for our label, and when I first started, we started, with 0 likes on anything, and I sat down and I'm like, well, what is the personality I want to convey from the label? I want people to think about, like, if we were a person, we're an aggregate of people, but if we were a person, I want people to think that we're someone they'd like to go out and have a beer with and talk about a lot of different things, not just music, not just our records. If all you're doing is selling stuff to people, they're just going to glaze over and stop engaging with you. But if you're talking to them about art and politics and the deeper aspects of music, the creative process, things that they can relate to, and frankly, things that they aspire to. When people want to connect with an artist, there's an aspirational aspect there. It's like, man, that's somebody I admire. I admire what they do. I want to somehow feel a connection with them.
So I can't stress how important. We've been through a whole cycle with social media where there's been, who's coming to look at demographics and stuff. Just figure out who your audience is, who you want to reach that you're not reaching already, and come up with creative, genuine, real ways to communicate with them. And I promise, in an organic, real way, you will build a following.
Through Facebook, I have an animated video of someone making beats, and I have one of my tracks on it, and I boosted it, and I got, a good percentage of my sales through that boosted post. So it's been really good for what I do.
So on average, if you post something on Facebook organically, without any engagement, and this is why engagement is so important, because the more engagement you have from your fans, the more Facebook will service it to the rest of your likes. But even if it's working really, really well, Facebook only allows, on average, 8 to 10% of anything that you post to be seen organically without actually paying for it. And didn't used to be that way, but
They needed to start monetizing.
that's how it is. So Instagram, that's great. That doesn't drive clicks. So if your goal is you're trying to sell something, you're not really going to do it on Instagram no matter how much you spend, because that's not, it doesn't drive clicks. So if you're trying to actually sell something and drive people to your Bandcamp account or your iTunes or whatever, the best place to do that is Facebook.
Clarify clicks for them. If anybody doesn't know why you're trying to get clicks.
Oh, so you post a link on Facebook, and your goal is to get people to click on it and go to YouTube or go to your Bandcamp or whatever. And Facebook knows too. So if you're posting something that has a lot of clicks and it has a lot of copy in the words, it won't service it to anyone. So you have to be a little bit tricky with it. So if you're just posting a photo, they won't allow a lot of copy. So they won't service it to any of your fans. So you'll see it, but they just won't do it. So they want you to pay for it, and then you'll get a message saying, "Hey, would you like your fans to see this?" So, but yeah, if you're trying to drive people to purchase something or buy something, be it tickets or even a YouTube video, you're gonna have to pay them at least $5 to $10, and you will see a return on your investment.
Yeah, a little goes a long way on Facebook. I gotta say, $25 will get you some pretty broad reach. The thing is, you got to get smart about who you want to reach and how you want to reach them. You can boost a post on Facebook, and you can also take out actual ads on Facebook. And some of the tricky things there are you can try and reach like-minded artists. So first of all, to answer the question, Facebook absolutely is the place we get the most engagement by paying money. We're starting to experiment a little bit with Twitter ads and things like that, but Facebook is the place. But it's like anything else, you got to get good at doing it. If you just spend the money to reach your own fans, at some point you're just reaching the choir, the converted. You're preaching to the choir. So there are really interesting strategic ways to broaden your audience, and there are places that can educate you on how to do that, and I would encourage you to look into it.
But here's a little hack. So if you post something on Facebook, let it before you pay to boost, let it do its thing, and wait 8 to 12 hours before you pay anything. So let it reach just about as many people as you think it's going to reach organically, and then pay.
Right, and one thing to watch out for too, as you said, Instagram doesn't drive as many clicks. If you have an Instagram business account, Facebook will link with it, and they will automatically, by default, post it to Instagram as well. So you have to uncheck that. Really important.
One thing that I'm hearing you guys talk about is that there's a level of success you might be able to obtain on yourself, even under your best efforts, but the payment of money allows you to access a different, higher level of reaching your fan base, and in terms of also different ways of doing so. One thing I kind of want to point out here, it's maybe an obvious point to some, but maybe not, in that people sort of look at this process of marketing promotion as an afterthought mistakenly. It's important to understand that it is so interwoven with our entertainment and media experience. From a spending standpoint, it's common that a project, a music or visual product will spend 80 to 90% of its budget on marketing and promotion. 80 to 90 cents out of every dollar after the product is made. And so there's something very real in terms of it's not a magic a ritual that you're performing by the payment of money. It's accessing the technology and the people who know how to exploit it the best. Now, in terms of what I see my clients at a very basic level spending their money in the best possible way is sort of a foundational thing, but if that doesn't happen, everything else that follows is never going to measure up, and that's making sure the interface has got all the polish of an A-list budgeted artist and content. That's something that you can't attain. You might not be able to attain that on all levels and match everything an A-list artist is doing, but the look of your website, the ease of use, and how modern the programming and all the rest of it really needs to be as indistinguishable from the people who you spend your money on, the artists that everybody knows.
It got darker out there, but I can still see you. I got a mic that can travel. Anybody has some questions right in the middle of this that we can spark these guys?
Today, can you talk about how you can get people, and you don't have to pay them, who are excited about your music, who can go out there and just basically get your band's persona, your music out on social media through their avenues?
Well, what you're talking about isn't really much different than, that was, old school social media. So it's very much the same. But really, that was, people just, it's no different than, someone really likes your song, someone really likes your music, someone really likes your video, that they're sharing it. So that's what I meant. That's how you gauge whether or not what you're doing is good. Is the music, if you're putting the music out and people are reaching it and they're not sharing it, the fact of the matter is you're doing something wrong then. It's just not resonating with people. So it's pretty much the same thing.
Well, I think there's another way to look at that. There's an overt way to engage your fan and assign them, overtly say, hey, New York, we're coming there next week. We're playing Madison Square Garden. Tell your friends, and hey, if you want to help us pass out flyers, get in touch with us. There is a way to overtly try and engage a street team level engagement amongst your fans. That's a pretty challenging thing to do if you can do it. It's a tremendous thing. And then there's what Casey's talking about, which is just when you genuinely touch someone and in an organic way they want to share your art just because that's what people do with music. That's one of the most beautiful things about music. Oh my God, check out this video. This video blew my mind, and then they're sharing it. That's obviously a very, very big goal.
What Bob was talking about is, so the before social media, then you would have, people in every city that were your fans that you would mail flyers to, you would mail CDs to.
Street teams.
Yeah, and they would go out and they would, pass out flyers and CDs and do stuff. That doesn't exist so much anymore. It's just not very cost effective, and you can get better results out of social media. But so that's the new evolution of what you're referring to.
Right, and one of the major places to release music nowadays is SoundCloud. And a lot of times, because people aren't buying as much music, streaming's very popular, you can do barters like follow to download. So if they want a copy of the track, they can follow you and repost your track to all their fans and friends. And it creates kind of an ecosystem to share music without necessarily getting paid the dollar, which many people, including myself, are happy to give up to get the exposure that could come with it. So that's one way. Another way with my sound pack, my drum kit, Drums That Knock, I did a contest, a free giveaway, where I gave away a bunch of free kits. And all they had to do was share the post, which had a video advertisement, and which also had my music on it. So that got out to thousands of people because people shared it because they wanted the free kit.
The DIY model has one inherent flaw, which is quite a flaw in that if you obtain the goal that you're pursuing, it will become too much to handle on a DIY level. And so you become less successful until you realize that you are occupied enough with artistic type things, perhaps, that you need to have people come in and manage that aspect of your career. Right. That is a byproduct, perhaps desired, of success.
Just a quick story. We put out Michael Franti and Spearhead's record Stay Human. And before we put that record out, Michael was really seriously thinking of starting his own label. And someone said to him, you know what, before you start your own label, call Ani DeFranco, who is a great folk artist who had started Righteous Babe Records and was really successful on a grassroots level. And he called her, and she was like, don't do it. Don't do it. I can't, I'm not an artist anymore. I'm a record label executive, and I've created my own monster that I gotta keep feeding, and I gotta keep feeding. So he made that decision to go with a label and not make as much of a margin, but have somebody else worry about all of that stuff. And it's just a decision and not everybody's good at this stuff. If you have a head for this stuff and you want to dig into the algorithms and you've got a flair for it, that's one thing. But just because you're a great beat maker doesn't mean that you're savvy about dealing with social media.
It depends on your personality, is
Yeah,
what you're saying.
your skill set. Yeah.
I have I shit you not, man. I have no less than 2 conversations. Let me make sure no one in my band is in here. Okay. All right. I have no less than 2 conversations a week with them, and where I'm like angry. I'm like, guys, you haven't posted anything on Instagram in a freaking week. What is wrong with you? Like, and so
Me too, same.
It's really frustrating. So what I do now is I will basically every week I plan out like, here's everything we need to post about. Here's our festival announcement. Here's this, whatever, and here's what we're doing every day. Here's what we're going to announce, and I'll send it to them on Saturday. And just reminding myself I need to do that. And then I'm like, make this in your voice, and then I take care of posting it. I'll take care of all that nonsense. But it's really hard, and the artists don't want to do it. They don't want to do it, and it's like I literally have to make them do it. And that's the best way that I've come up with is like, here's everything for the week. Change the copy, make it in your voice. And I'll handle everything else.
But then there's some artists who you can't get them off Twitter. All they want to do is be up on Twitter, all day, all night. So it's really it's different for everybody.
Personality. It's all a matter of if you're cut out for that or not, and knowing if you are or not.
But the Instagram thing is what's really annoying because while Instagram doesn't drive clicks and all that, it does keep people engaged and people are on it. It's like I can't fucking fake your Instagram selfie, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like, give me that. At least give me your Instagram selfie. So.
Thank you very much. Actually, that almost encompasses everything that I wanted to ask, except nobody has talked about the actual online website, yourself.com. Is that a valuable part?
Not really.
Decreasingly so.
Yeah. Yeah.
One sec. I'm going to say yes because I sell digital products as well as selling my own music. So I use a service called Selfie, and instead of sending them to selfie.com/Decap music, blah blah blah, I just send them to drumsthatknock.com, which forwards to Selfie. So it's like I can create any domain I want, and that can be the message I'm conveying.
So the consumer doesn't feel like they're being taken out of your experience.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
So-
important.
I
So
just
it's
figured out
creating-
why I was put on this panel, which I'm really excited about. People have been giving me a hard time for the longest time saying you don't need a website. They just like, Stefan says you don't need a website. He's so dumb. But what you said, buy your domain name, important. Create an email list, important. But like owning a website, when was the last time you went on your website and updated your information? It's the same as like, if you're not updating like your selfies on Instagram, there's no freaking way you're actually updating your website.
And they're right though. Also, you know, it is becoming increasingly important. But it's if you're using it for the clear purpose of branding and you have a very clear vision for it, then use it. Use everything.
Yeah, and you can make a really professional website these days for very little money and make it really easy to update. You know, go with some kind of format that it's just quick and easy to update when as long as it doesn't look like an amateurish piece of crap.
And you don't have to know HTML anymore.
No.
I mean, there's Squarespace. That's what I use for my main site. I use Sellfy for my digital products, and it just forwards to those domains.
But if you're not updating it, your SEO is like dropping. So you've got this website that you're paying money for, and it's slowly moving down Google's ranking, and it's like it's not helping you. And at best, you've created a website that has links to all your social networks, and you're like, great, I'm pointing people to my website so that they can go to my website to go to my other social links. Just put it into like an existing social platform that requests the people's emails and gives them the content right there without having to redirect them again. That's my point.
I like what you said about you brought to the attention Google. If you have a website, it's going to increase your Google ranking generally. So that's another.
Yeah, and nothing says dead band with nothing going on like a website that looks like there's cobwebs on it that hasn't been updated for months. So if you're gonna do it, commit to doing it and keeping it fresh.
I feel like we have a lawyer on our panel, which how often do you get to get advice from a lawyer for free? So the question is kind of
you're not
online
charging?
presence. Yeah. The question's kind of online presence, but it's also a question that I get a lot that I can't answer. I believe there's businesses out here, there's bands out here, there's people trying to create projects. LLC, what's your advice on LLC, or like what's your advice on protecting yourself as a band or project or anything?
Keep in mind that the need becomes more obvious with your growing success. And so it's sometimes hard to argue hardcore in favor of it when nothing's going on. But it's also a thing that you really don't want to wait until you're successful to attack. The LLC is kind of like a variation of a corporation, both of which the only reason why you mess with those things is to provide yourself with a layer of protection in case somebody tries to sue the living daylights out of you, right? It's like a bulletproof vest. And like a bulletproof vest, it does you no good to put it on after you've been shot or after you've been in a gun battle. It's got to be on in advance of that. And here's the other thing too, as awkward and uninteresting and boring and all the rest of it that's entailed in that process, as much as that's true, it just gets worse with time. It doesn't ever get better. In fact, the more successful you become, the more complicated that process also becomes. And so the ideal time, believe it or not, is when you're absolutely got nothing going on to set those things into play. Now, as to whether an LLC is the preferred model to go for, this is the thing you have to understand without going into in great detail. LLC was invented precisely and exclusively for small owner-operated businesses. You're never going to see Coca-Cola LLC, Sony LLC. It doesn't do any good for that level of a company. So it exists to provide the exact same benefits of a corporation, but it strips out all the complexity, or virtually all the complexity, all the things that make dealing with corporations actually risky. It makes what LLC is basically a DIY version of the corporation that's designed for people in your situation. There really is not a lot of excuse to not do it because it's that easy. I can address the details, but filing and setting it up is a one-page, two-sided form in $70, and you're an LLC. You're set up.
It's worth it.
Is that for a label or an artist?
Well, you can do either. You can have a one-person LLC. You can set it up as, if you have more people, you can set up your record label as a sole proprietorship. So that's sort of a fiction, depending on who's involved. But yeah, it doesn't have to be an established company to get an LLC form. It can just be a single person.
So the related questions the rest of the non-lawyers can answer. How are you guys protecting your online presence? Like, what are you doing to protect your names, your brands, your
I'm
projects?
actually going through a lawsuit. Right? So this nice old lady in Virginia, right? I see that I go to trademark the name Cambrio, right? And I get rejected because I'm like, there's someone similar in Virginia that has a similar mark. She has the patent.
I'm sorry, did you go to trademark the name after the record came out, or before?
No. This has been oh god, this has
like
cost
after
me
you got
so
shot,
much.
right?
This has cost me so much money. So this little old lady that plays chamber music at a church somehow 12 years ago, had trademarked the name Cambrio, but it's different. It's got an exclamation point.
How many exclamation points do you have to add to your name to make it okay? Like 3 or 4,
Yeah.
that's fine.
So honestly, though, please, it costs like nothing. Just trademark your name, because once someone does it, it doesn't matter if you're screwed. And this has cost thousands and thousands of dollars for nothing.
And if you trademark your name, you are the owner of that name. Like you have, I don't know the word, but you're the authority of that name. You have a monopoly on that name. So file the paper.
And now I gotta sue this nice old church
I
lady.
have a solution for it.
So do it right
I have
away.
a solution for you. Make her a part of the band.
Make her part of the band as a
No,
solution.
but-
You
The whole trademark
you
thing
needed a chamber organist in the band.
This whole trademark thing is trickier than all that. It's never, as you can imagine, anything that involves lawyers not open and shut. But the one thing that the problem that in your situation is now you've already engaged in a conflict posture with the person, so you're not going to sneak anything by.
Exactly.
What I might have advised, if I were consulted, is to try to figure a way to get that thing registered in a different category of endeavor, so that they rubber stamp it. If you can get it trademarked, then that person would likely never know. And then the thing about trademarks is it's not about who registers it first. It's about who uses it more.
So that's what I'm suing. We're suing her for like non-use. She doesn't use it anymore, and it's like, and then she's appealing it. And it's just
So if you can get your feet under you,
it's like this little lady. I'm like, can't you just die? You're almost dead. What are you gonna do?
Just so you know, this conversation's recorded, so you're in the middle of a lawsuit, you might not want to say that. I'm just saying. The question is, we got your bio online. That's cool. It talks about all the things you did 10 years ago. What's the most exciting thing you're doing right now? Like, that's not in your bio that you're like, oh my gosh, you gotta check this out. This is what I'm doing right now. It's freaking cool. It's like I've just posted it yesterday, starting here, going down.
So I just started a collective. It's called Future Knock. We focus on creating, putting out artists who create innovative music with hard-hitting drums, but thinking forward into new genres. And we're trying to change the landscape of the music business by bringing these tracks to major artists.
Besides intimidating old ladies, what's the most exciting thing you're doing?
So basically, my sole focus is this little band Cambrio, and so
Which is blowing up around the world.
we're going to Japan and Europe in like 2 weeks, and then taking a little time off before we're not making a new record. We're doing a series of singles. Don't ever release a full-length record ever again. Just did it. And we're doing like collaborations with like Charlie Tuna, Jurassic 5. He's gonna be on a track. One with Geographer, who's another Bay Area artist. So that's basically the first quarter of next year.
Most exciting thing that happened with us recently is one of our projects got covered on 60 Minutes 2 Sundays ago, which is the second most watched television show in America with 17
I was gonna say, anybody who doesn't have a TV and
17
doesn't
million
know
people
about
watch
this.
it. It's a very cool project called the Zomba Prison Project, a producer that we work with, who is committed to traveling around the world recording underheard voices all over the world. And about 8 months ago, Anderson Cooper and a full team from 60 Minutes flew out to Malawi, to the prison. And they've been sitting on this story for a while, and we've just been, please, run the story. And 2 weeks ago, they ran it. And there are very few things that still move the needle in terms of record sales. But I can now safely say that a story on 60 Minutes actually does. So,
wow. Like I said earlier, I'm doing a thing called Balanced Breakfast. It's a meetup of musicians. Started in San Francisco, but currently we're in San Francisco, Oakland, San Jose, LA, San Diego, Denver, Austin, let's see, if I already said Nashville, I can't remember, Boston and Toronto. On Monday, I'm going to Portland to get it started in Portland, so that if you find yourself in Portland, you could do it there. And then just for pure pleasure, I'm going to Colombia for 2 months. And why shouldn't there be a music meetup in Colombia? So Bogota? I'll be in Bogota, and so I feel like if you guys wanted to go to Colombia for some reason, you should be able to hang out with musicians, right? That'd be kind of cool. So you can look us up online, Balance Breakfast. We got a meetup here at Coast Mastering in Oakland, and one in San Francisco, and if you're in San Jose, and if you want to start one in your city, just let me know, and I'll give you the resources.
Well, all right, just really quickly, guys, really like easy advice to come up with a strategy for how you're going to approach social media that seems so simple and many people don't do it. Think about stuff that engages you. When you go on Facebook, when you go on Twitter, when you get an email from a label or an artist that you've signed up on their mailing list, what works for you? What touches your button? What makes you actually open the freaking email?
I finish all of my ideas with a TM instead of a period. Just feel like it's a better way to end sentences and thoughts. Yeah, just in case. So TM at the end of this panel. I just TM'd everything we just talked about.
Good luck out there.
I'm curious to see, do we get to have your real name, like birth name, mother given?
It's out there, so whoever finds it gets Drums and Knock Volume 3 for free.
Nice. Come talk to us. We're approachable, I think. So thanks for hanging out.
Thanks.